For the data in the table, find the line of best fit and use it to predict the value of y when x equals negative 3.8. Okay, so what would we need to do first? What's the very first thing you would need to do to find the line of best fit? Nobody remembers? How do you take data from a table and find the line of best fit? You take your calculator and you go to stat. Oh, it looks like mine froze. Okay, so I'll just walk you through it. Go hit stat and then edit. In L1 is where you will list all of the x values. So negative 5, negative 3, 4, 1, negative 1, negative 2, 0, 2, 3, and negative 4. And then in the L2 column is where you will list all of those y values. Negative 10, negative 8, 9, 1, negative 2, negative 6, negative 1, 3, 6, and negative 8. Once the data is in L1 and L2, what do we then press? Stat, calculate, and then down to number 4, linear regression, because that's the same thing as the line of best fit. Hit enter, and then you'll just go down and hit calculate. And what does it tell you the slope is? You must have a typo in your list. 2.09, so couldn't we just round that to 2.1? And then what about your y-intercept? What did y'all get for the y-intercept? Right, negative 0.55. Okay, so the equation of the line of best fit is 2.1x minus 0.55. Now it wants us to use it to predict the value of y, so we want to know what y equals when x equals negative 3.8. So what is that telling you to do? Right, plug in negative 3.8 for the x because they're equal. So that'll be 2.1. These are touching, which means they're being multiplied. We show that by putting parentheses around the next number. And now you just need to type it in your calculator. So y equals 2.1, open parenthesis, negative 3.8, close parenthesis, minus 0.55, and what do you get? Okay, what did y'all get? Negative 8.53, and I'll just round it off to negative 8.5. Not that you would be wrong if you wrote the 3, but anytime a question does not tell you how to round it, I normally just go with like what they're doing in the question. See how this one was given to us to the tenths place? They just gave us one number, so that's why I did the same thing in my answer. I just kind of go with what the question's doing. All right, now we are going to finish your flip book. So open up your interactive notebooks to page 25, and we're going to finish out this flip book today. Okay, so we're on the page that looks like this. It says sometimes we want to change one type of measurement unit, such as inches, to another unit, such as centimeters. When we change units from the standard system to the metric system or vice versa, we are converting between measurement systems. Common conversions of standard to metric are as follows. Now there are a couple of typos on this page. Down here in capacity, these are both a mistake. They should both say milliliters. Okay, and so instead of millimeters, those should just both say milliliters. Okay, and so these are the conversions that we're going to be using on the next 4 examples on the next page. So I'm just going to slide it over so that we can still use it. And now flip to the next page, and we're going to try these 4 examples. Okay, example 1. How many gallons are in 12 liters? So what would we need to start our conversion chain with? Right, no, not gallons, liters, right? Because that's what we're given. We're trying to take it to gallons. So 12 liters. And we do it just like always. Since liters is in the top, now it goes in the bottom. And what do we know about liters and gallons, Grant? Right, 3.785 liters in every gallon. Okay, now that we've made it to the units that they want the answer in, we can stop with the chain and cancel out all the other units. On top, we just have a 12 times 1, which is 12. On the bottom, we just have that 3.785. And now you just divide those. So 12 divided by 3.785 equals what? What'd y'all say? 3.17 gallons. All right, example 2. How many inches are in 5 meters? So this time we need to start the conversion chain with what? 5 meters. Okay, because that's the information we currently know, and we're trying to convert that over into inches. Since meters is in the top, it will go in the bottom next. And do we know anything about meters to inches? Okay, that would be under length. Do we see anything about meters to inches? No, the only thing we see is centimeters to inches, but we do see 1 meter is 3.28 feet. So we'll start there. 1 meter is 3.28 feet. Now that we're in feet, feet goes on the bottom, and remember we're trying to get to inches. What do we know about feet to inches? Right, 1 foot is 12 inches. So now that we have reached the units that they want the answer to be in, we're done with the chain. We cross out all the other units because you have 1 on top and 1 on bottom. The denominators are just 1 times 1, so you're not going to have to divide. You just need to multiply these 3 numbers, and when you do 5 times 3.28 times 12, what do you get? What'd y'all say? 196.8. Is that what y'all got? And that is inches. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try example 3 by yourself before I do it with you? To try it by themselves? Okay, let's look at example 3 then. What did you start your conversion chain with? Right, 10 ounces. Whatever's in the top, next goes in the bottom. Our goal is to get it to grams. So when we go over here, do we see anything about ounces to grams? We see that 1 ounce is equal to 28.349 grams. You have made it to the units that your answer wants, so you're done with your chain. You cross out the other units. It's only 1 in the denominator, so all you have to do is multiply straight across, and what did y'all get? And that is grams. Okay, now go ahead and try example 4. Start your conversion chain with, right, 2 gallons. And we want to know how many milliliters that is. So gallons is in the top, so now it goes in the bottom. And do you know anything about gallons straight to milliliters? No. What do they tell us about gallons over here? 1 gallon equals 3.785 liters. And so now liters goes in the bottom. And what do we know about liters? Don't we know that 0.473 liters is 1 pint? And now pints goes in the bottom, and we know that 1 pint is 473.177 milliliters. Okay, so now we can cross out all the units except for milliliters, because that's what they want the answer in. Multiply the numerators, so that would be 2 times 3.785 times 1 times 473.177. Hit enter, and then hit divided by 0.473 and tell me what you get. Starts with a 7. What comes after the 7? 5, and then 0.8, and that's milliliters. Okay, we're done now in that flip book, so you can close up your interactive notebook. We are actually going to skip page 15, and if we have time, we'll come back to it, but it's not crucial for us to have to do this worksheet in order for you to be ready for the test. So let's go to page 16. Okay, page 16 looks like this. Okay, this is where knowing how to do a conversion chain will definitely be helpful for you. Okay, number 1. A child requires a 5 milliliter dose of medicine each day. How many days would a gallon of this medicine last? And then they give you the information that 1 gallon equals 3.79 liters. Okay, well, first of all, you've got to figure out where to start your chain. Any ideas? What we would put over here for the start of the chain? What do we have? Okay, that's what we know the dosage should be, but what do we actually have of the medicine? All right, so that's what we start with. We have a gallon of this medicine. So that's what we're starting with, and we're trying to convert it into milliliters so that we'll know how many days it will last if the kid's taking 5 milliliters per day. So you multiply by a fraction. Gallons is in the top, so now gallons has to go in the bottom. Now remember, our goal is to turn gallons into milliliters, but the only thing they told us about gallons right here is 1 gallon equals what? Right. Okay, so we still haven't got to where we want to because the child's dosage is in milliliters. So we need to take this gallon from liters to milliliters. So this is where you kind of got to think, on your own. We're in liters. We want it in milliliters. So what could we do? Don't you kind of have to know how much a liter is in milliliters? So this is where we use the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Okay, liters is a base, correct? So you would start at the B. Milliliters is over here. So that's 1, 2, 3 to the right. Well, if you take the decimal point and move it 3 to the right, doesn't that mean we'll be adding 3 zeros? So 1 liter is the same thing as 1,000 milliliters. And now by doing that, I have turned this problem into gallons now into milliliters. Okay, but I'll have to multiply them to see how much that 1 gallon actually is. But I'm not quite done. Because now that I have it in milliliters, I can put milliliters on the bottom and use the 5 for their dosage. And that's for 1 day, or you could put 1 dose. It doesn't really matter. That's just how much they take a day or how much they take per dose. I guess we'll put day since that's what the question is asking. How many days would it last? Okay, so now you want to multiply all the numerators together first. So 1 times 3.79 times 1,000 times 1. So really, you're just multiplying 3.79 times 1,000, correct? And you're getting what? Right. And so all we've really done here is taken a gallon, which they told us is 3.79 liters, and turned it into milliliters. This means that that gallon of medicine is really that many milliliters. And now that you know that the gallon is this many milliliters, we divide it by 5 because that's how much his dose is each day. And so what is 3,790 divided by 5? Right, so that's how many days the medicine will last. That's a lot of medicine. This must be something he takes his whole life or something. All right, number 2. Is everybody ready? Everybody's finished copying number 1? Okay, number 2. The moon is 384,403 kilometers from the Earth. Estimate how many quarters laid end to end, like touching each other, it would take to reach the moon if a quarter has a diameter of 2.3 centimeters. Okay, so they're talking about if the quarter has a diameter, which is just the distance across it, and that's 2.3 centimeters, they want to know how many quarters it would take to go from the Earth to the moon if the distance is that many kilometers. So what do we start our conversion chain with? Right, we need to start it with the distance to the moon, and that's in kilometers. And now we're going to multiply it by a fraction where we know kilometers has to go in the bottom. Okay, now we're trying to turn this into centimeters, correct? Because that's what the quarter is measured in. So this is where we're going to use the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And we just basically always just put 1 for what you're trying to change over. And 1 kilometer is how many centimeters? You would have to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means you're going to just add 5 zeros. And so 1 kilometer is 100,000 centimeters. Now that it's in centimeters, now we're able to use this 2.3 centimeters. And that is the distance, or the diameter, of 1 quarter. And that's what we're trying to figure out, how many quarters would be there end to end all the way to the moon. Okay, so I know this is difficult, but do you understand once I've done it? Like, do you understand it? Like, this is the distance to the moon, but it's in kilometers. Well, we're trying to figure out how many quarters will go from here to the moon, but they give us their units in centimeters. So the first thing we got to do is convert the moon's distance from kilometers to centimeters. So that's why we multiply by 100,000, because every kilometer has 100,000 centimeters. And so in the top, it'll just stay 384,403, because it's just times 1 times, oh, no it won't, because it's times 100,000, sorry. So I'm going to do this one on the calculator because it's going to be so big. So 384, 384,403 kilometers needs to be multiplied by 100,000, and that will turn the distance to the moon into, did I put too many zeros? 100,000, that will turn the distance, wait a minute, I didn't put too many. How many zeros are up there? 4? And that's, I need 1 more. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is to take it from kilometers to centimeters, because by multiplying this number by 100,000, That's going to turn it into centimeters. Now I'm going to divide it by the diameter of a quarter, which is 2.3 centimeters. And I get this. Now, don't you think if we tried to measure from here to the moon in centimeters, it'd be a very, very large number? Okay? Wouldn't that be a very large number if you tried to measure from here to the moon in centimeters? It is. That's why your calculator turns it into scientific notation. So first I'm going to write this down on the paper, and then I'm going to explain what that means. So 1.67131 and then 7391 and then E10. Okay, what this means is there should be 10 digits after the decimal point. So let's count it out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There should be 10. So instead of writing this, I'm just going to go and add in the 10th digit. Now I'm going to go through and put commas where they should go. So I'm going to write down all the digits first. 167, 131, 73910. But then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to put commas where they should be. And so that would end up being 16,713,173,910 quarters is how many you could lay end to end from here to the moon. Now on your test, you may see the answer just look like this. And if that's how they leave the answer, then good. You don't have to do any extra work. Okay, but I want y'all to understand what that actually means. That means that there's 10 digits after the decimal point, and so this is really 16,713,173,910 quarters. Okay? But normally they will just leave the answer like that, but I want you to understand what it means. Okay, now let's look at number 3. How many years old are you if you have lived 1 billion seconds? So what do we start our conversion chain with? Right, 1 billion seconds. Turn around. So that would be 1 and then 9 zeros is how you write a billion. And that's seconds. Okay, so now that we're in seconds, we're going to multiply by a fraction, and seconds is going to be on the bottom of it. What do we know about seconds? We're trying to get to years, so what do we know about seconds? What's something y'all know about seconds? Right, there are 60 seconds in every minute. Okay, so we're kind of moving up. We're getting closer to a year. Now that we're in minutes, we can convert that over to hours. And what do you know about minutes to hours, Grant? 60 minutes in an hour. Now that we're in hours, we can convert that to days, right? What do we know about hours to days? 24 hours in a day. And now that we're in days, we can convert that to years. And what do you know about days in a year? Right. Okay, so now we have made it to the units that they want the answer in. They wanted the answer in years, and we've made it there. So we cross out all the other units. In the top, you just have 1 billion times a bunch of ones. So it's going to remain 1 billion, correct? But in the bottom, we actually have some numbers we're going to need to multiply together. So let's do that on the calculator. 60 times 60 times 24 times 365. Okay, that's 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 24 hours, 365 days. And so that's what you get. Now we're going to type in the 1 billion. And that's the numerator, and we're going to divide it by the denominator. 31,536,000. And you should get this number. So tell me what that number means. How many years old are you? 31 years, but you're almost 32, right? So we're going to break it down. We know it's 31 years, but we're going to go further and we're going to break it down into days, hours, minutes, and even seconds. Okay, let me show you how you would do that. Right now, this is in years. So this 0.709799198 is the leftover of a year. So to convert it to days, what would we need to do with it? I think somebody said it, but I couldn't hear it. If you want to take this leftover years and turn it into days, what would you need to multiply it by? To turn it into days? How many days are in a year? Right, so you take the leftover years and multiply it by 365, and that will turn it into days, because that's how many days are in a year. So that's 259 days. And now we're going to turn that into hours. So we take the leftover 0.07400727, and what would we need to multiply it by to turn it into days? 24, or no, we just did days. We're now going to hours. So 24 for hours, and so that's 1 hour. And now we're going to take its leftovers and turn it into minutes. So we take the leftovers of 0.7777 and then 448. And what would we need to multiply it by? Because now we're trying to go into minutes. 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And so 46 minutes. And now we're going to convert what's left into seconds. So 0.664688 times what? Times what? 60, because there's 60 seconds in an hour. And so 39 seconds. And then obviously there's some leftover. It's almost 40 seconds. So we'll just go ahead and round it up to 40 seconds. Now, you are not going to have to do that on the test. You are going to be able to leave your answer as 31 point whatever and round it off. But I just wanted to do that, just so you see how it works. All right, one more question, number 4. 1 milliliter of ink can print 50 pages of text. If you had 100 gallons of ink, then how many pages could you print? And then they tell you 1 gallon is 3.79 liters. Okay, so what do you need to start your conversion chain with? What do we actually have of the ink? 100 gallons. Okay, but we know that the ink 50 pages is printed for every milliliter. So don't we kind of need to turn this into milliliters instead of gallons? Well, the first thing we have to do is take it from gallons to liters, because that's the information they gave us. 1 gallon is 3.79 liters. But remember, our goal is to get the gallon to milliliters. So now we need to turn liters into milliliters. And how do we do that? That's where we have to use the King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And if we're going from 1 liter to milliliters, wouldn't that be, oops, not the B. Did I skip something? King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. So we're going from the base of liters to milliliters, which is 1, 2, 3 to the right, which means we add 3 zeros after the 1. So now all I've done so far was taken the 100 gallons and we're converting it over to milliliters. But we want to know how many pages it'll print if you can do 1 milliliter for every 50 pages. Okay, so now we can stop the chain because we've made it to pages. We cross out the other things. The bottoms are all 1, so you just have to multiply the numerators. 100 times 3.79 times 1,000. That will just convert it over to milliliters, but now times 50, because that's how many pages you get per milliliter, lets you know you can print how many pages. You can just tell me, you don't have to try to say it correctly, you can just tell me the digits. 1, okay, is anybody able to say that number? Very good. 18,950,000 pages could be printed if you had 100 gallons of ink. Okay, we'll stop there for today. There's no homework tonight. We'll work on these problems all day tomorrow. Okay, this is all we're doing tomorrow is more practice on this stuff. And then Monday we're moving into something brand new, totally different from what we've been doing.